Well, it is an unfortunate an unfortunate fact that in times of trouble, scams of all types tend to
Yeah,
rise.
last year, Aussies lost $634 million to all types of cons, but with lockdowns in place and feelings of isolation at an all time high, romance scams have become increasingly concerning.
Now, Ange Cox has been investigating these alarming numbers, and she joins us now with more. Hi, Ange.
Yeah, good morning, guys. The unfortunate rise of romance scams has been devastating for many people across the country. Last year, Australians lost a staggering $83 million to dating and romance scams, which is a 30% increase on the year before. And while the stigma around this kind of scam often paints a picture of the victims being older women, that's no longer the case. These scammers are becoming increasingly more tech savvy and reaching out to people on platforms often aimed at teenagers and young adults. I'm joined now by Detective Superintendent Linda Howlett, Commander of the Financial Crime Squad, and also digital literacy expert Dr. Joanne Orlando. Thank you so much for joining us. Linda, firstly to you. The Financial Crime Squad arrested a woman earlier this year running a very sophisticated romance scam. What did you uncover?
Basically, the female was online. We came across her through another investigation that we were conducting. And as a result of that, we became aware that she was meeting men online. And as a result of an investigation, she was charged with over 60 offences of obtained money by deception. And she got away with about $9.7 million.
Incredible. Joe, this is no longer just happening on dating websites, is it? Where are these scammers lurking?
Yeah, like you said, Ange, these scammers keep up to date with technology. So one of the things that we're finding is these romance scams can take place on any online site where people connect. So just a couple of real recent examples. A 30-something-year-old man on an online forum for his local community, he got a message from a very attractive woman saying, I saw your profile, I just thought you were really handsome and I wanted to say hi. And the scam began. And another one, a 50-something-year-old woman on an online game called Words with Friends. A lot of people play this. It's an online Scrabble game where you just play with a stranger as an opponent. She put up a word. It was a bit of a cheeky word.
Is that
her opponent came back with a very cheeky response, cute response, and then that scam began. So another word for romance scams is confidence fraud. So these scammers spend weeks or months gaining confidence in order to get money. It might be in the form of cash, but it might be in the form of something like gift cards. It's my birthday, send me a gift card, that kind of thing. So you might send them a $2,000 Amazon gift card. That's how it works.
So, Linda, this is really preying on the most vulnerable, and particularly now with everyone in isolation. What tactics do the Financial Crime Squad use to investigate these types of crime?
Well, one of the main things we really want victims to report. Unfortunately, a lot of the victims are really embarrassed about being conned. And by the time we actually become aware of it, if they've sent money, often it's been moved overseas and we have difficult tracking it back. But we work very closely with financial institutions. We work very closely with our overseas counterparts and within Australia as well with other law enforcement. So we try and identify these scams. As I said, the woman that we did arrest, we actually came across it through another investigation. So the main thing is, if you meet someone online, whatever you do not send them money. They'll give you a sub story. In actual fact, as was mentioned by the previous person, that they actually groom them. They're actually grooming their victim. They play to the weakness of the victim, and that's something that we really need to stop. And unfortunately, what they also do is once they actually get money out of you, they actually on-sell your details to other scammers. And what they also do is open up bank accounts, loans, etc., or apply for credit once they've got your details, which can affect a victim's credit rating.
You mentioned victims are often embarrassed. Joanne, if victims are embarrassed, they're not going to tell you. How do you spot this if your family or friends are victims of a scam like this?
Yeah, so if you think maybe your mum or a friend is victim of this kind of scam, there's a couple of signs to look for. One is that they're a little bit secretive around their kind of technology activity, more secretive than normal. And also they're not being open about information. You know, they'll say they've met someone, but the information about this person might be a little bit sketchy, or they might feel a little bit reluctant to tell you about them. And then you might want to meet them, but your friend or your mum or whoever's being scammed, there's always excuses. You know, they want you to meet them, but the person is never available. So there's some very clear signs there.
So, Linda, you talked about this often happening a lot overseas. What sort of jurisdiction does the police force have to arrest and charge these scammers who are living overseas?
It becomes very difficult. What we do is work with our other law enforcement agencies to see if we can identify these people, and if we can, if they commit offences, that we can actually have them arrested in the country that they're operating from. But more importantly, what we're trying to do for the victims is get their money back, and that can be challenging if it's some weeks or months after they inform the police. By then, often the money's gone and we can't retrieve it.
Jo, take us through an example of a message from one of these scammers. What would it look like?
Okay, so once they've contacted you, you know, these scammers run according to very well-oiled scripts. So they refine them so they know the way to catch people. So one is there's always a physical distance. You know, they might be living in London, but they're Australian, but they can't get back because of COVID, or they're looking after an elderly parent, so can't leave the home. So there's always a reason that they want to meet you, but they never can meet you. Another one is that there's poor spelling and grammar. So the image that they've sent you might be of a very handsome 50-year-old, but that's not the person normally. Often these scammers are syndicates. They might be working offshore, for example, in Nigeria. A lot have been traced back to there. So English is their second language. So they might say they're a physics professor in Australia, but their spelling and grammar just doesn't add up to that, because essentially these people are working with English as a second language. And then they very quickly also try to take you off the platform. So say they've contacted you on somewhere like LinkedIn. They very quickly try to take you off that platform where maybe they've tried to scam other people, and take you onto somewhere much more private where they have more control. It might be on WhatsApp, or they send you an email address.
Okay, so Linda, finally, what steps do we need to take? If someone's been scammed, what do we do?
Well, the first priority is do not send any money. I'd encourage you to attend your local police station and report it. Get onto your financial institution if you have sent money, to see if you can get it stopped. But the priority is do not send money. Just don't fall for their stories. Often, as I said, it is a sob story, and they actually are grooming the victim. They look at your profile, they look at what you put online, so they're actually building a story around what you've actually incorporated on your profile, and that's how they play into you.
Okay, well, thank you, Linda and Joanne. Some very good advice there. And guys, you might think this, you know, you'd have to be a fool to fall for this. I actually have a friend, 45, incredibly attractive, professional woman, got suckered in by this because of this time in COVID when you can't meet someone in person on a dating app. Ended up realising, because they just kept stringing her along, did a reverse photo search. It was some guy in Belgium. She had to contact him and say, your photo's being used. It can really happen to people that you would think, oh, they'd be smarter than that.
It's a perfect storm at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's lonely and boredom.
And we also had another expert on a couple of weeks ago who said people get lulled into the fact that they've known this person online for 12 months. But what they don't realise is that this person, the scammer, has 50 of these rackets on the go at once, and they don't mind putting in the time. But as a victim, you can go, well, I've known them for 12 months.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that to me. But because they've got so many on the run, they don't mind investing the time if they think they're going to get a payoff at the end.
Thanks, Ange.
Thank you, Ange.
Great tips from those experts as well. Thank you. All right.